welcome to The Real Generation Gap. I'm Rudy Ruiz.
I'm Fred Satilli.
And today we're going to be talking about the new film, Companion. So Companion stars Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid and was written and directed by Drew Hancock. Okay, this movie, I will say right out the gate before we dig in and even give a synopsis, if you have not seen the trailer for this movie and you're curious about seeing it, don't watch anything about it. Just go see the movie. We are going to do spoilers. And in my opinion, the trailer and the marketing kind of ruined the experience of the movie a little bit. For me, we'll get into that. So, warning right now, if you plan on seeing it, go in blind. If not, here we go. So, Companion follows Iris and her boyfriend Josh as they go to a little weekend getaway in some secluded billionaire's palace of a house. And then when she ends up getting assaulted by this guy and committing murder, a little bit of shenanigans ensues. The biggest key point being the reveal that she is actually a robot companion for this guy, Josh, which, again, is ruined in the trailer. And I thought would have made for a better movie if I didn't know that going in.
Right. And fortunately for me, I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't know anything about this. I saw a preview a long time ago, like a month or so, and I just like, oh, well, I'll watch that. And then whatever.
Oh, that's good. So
yeah.
Let's start with your take on it. How'd you feel about the movie?
Okay, well, I have an issue with your introduction, and that is that you said when the Russian guy Sergei, when he attempts to rape her, I don't think that happened. I think she was programmed to think that was happening, and that's why she killed him. I just the way when she met Josh in the grocery store, that didn't really happen. It was a programmed memory. I think that Josh, because they said he programmed her to kill him, and that's what Kat wanted too. The idea was to kill him and steal the $12 million. I don't think that he ever attacked her. I think he just came on the beach, and then as soon as she saw him, it was like, he's going to rape me. I have to kill him. You know, kind of Manchurian Candidate was. Right. And then it was because it took him by surprise.
Well, from what I remember of it, it's when they jailbroke her or whatever to change her programming.
That's right. Yeah.
They just made it so that she is able to inflict harm on people. I don't think they implanted any kind of memory in her. And the thing is, well, no, that's interesting because it is a theme in this movie of how they treat, technology, even the just different forms of technology, and how for him, he just says like, oh, they said it's all right, it's all good. Like, this is what you're for. This is what you're built for. So I think in his mind and Sergei's mind, it's kind of innocent because she's just an object
and he said that.
For his desire.
He said, you were made for this.
Yeah, this is what you're here for.
Right. They even called her an F-bot.
Yeah.
I don't want to. And they said it was like a vulgar characterization or something. And that's why when he said, oh, you just go to the beach with him alone. I'm going to hang back. I got a hangover from last night. You just go. It was like he had programmed her to go and do that. That was what I thought. And the other foreshadowing that was interesting was when they first arrived, she said, Kat doesn't like me. Now Kat is the other, there's two people, well, actually there's three people that know she's a robot and they understand what's going on more or less. And it's Kat, who's the girlfriend of Sergei, even though he's married. And then there's Josh. And then there's the gay guy. Eli
and then Patrick.
Who has the gay robot, right.
Yeah.
And they were, when I first saw them, I went like, oh, do we have to have this in every movie? They had to have a gay couple or something. Like, it had nothing to do with story. But it really, really worked, and it was really good. You know what I mean? So my immediate revulsion of DEI was slapped back out of me. It was like, no, perfect characters, perfect characters. And both of those guys were amazing in their roles, But the trick thing was when she arrived and met Kat, she was very submissive and Kat was very vivacious. And she said, I wish I could, she said, you hate me, don't you? And she said, I don't hate you personally. I hate what you are, because she knew she was a robot.
Yeah.
And then her response was, I can't help being this way. This is the way I was made. So it was like a really cool foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, that was how you were made, because she really was only months old.
And that's the thing. That's where the trailer for me kind of ruined it. Like, they plant these little seeds and there is this foreshadowing, and something's a little bit off. If I didn't know already, though, that she was a robot, it probably would have caught me more by surprise.
It knocked me out of my seat.
Yeah.
When he went, Iris, go to sleep, and her eyes just turned white
Yeah.
and she was frozen, I went like, whoa, what?
Yeah, because you even get a little bit when they're in the car and he's just like, Iris, wake up, and then she's up. And when he asks her the weather
I didn't
at
realize
that one
right? She
point,
said, how long was I out? Right.
yeah, and then even when they,
Right, the weather report where
Yeah.
she gave the exact,
Yeah, and he's
67 degrees, partly cloudy, 5-mile-an-hour wind from the west.
yeah, but the
then,
first time it seems kind of like innocent, because she's standing on the balcony, so she just and he just man, never gets old, And I like how they peel back the layers, especially of his character, how he seems, like kind of a decent guy.
he's
They're
the
a nice
sweetest.
little sweet couple.
Yeah.
But as the layers get pulled back of him and who he is, and just being this entitled, like kind of brat type of guy, the world owes him something because has such a bummer life or whatever. I just like the way they peel that back over time.
It is extremely incremental.
Yeah.
They do a really good,
And it
they
works.
stretch it out like almost to the very end.
Yeah.
Like his frailty, how he's mentally not right and emotionally not, he's a very complex character. In the beginning, he's a very simple guy, the simplest of simple, you know what I mean? He's Andy of Mayberry, he's Opie, but as time goes by, it's not that he becomes evil. It's not that the evil side comes out, like a stupid dependent side comes out. And I found that really fascinating.
Yeah.
His character was uniquely written. And never at any point was he truly evil.
Right.
He was always like dealing with his own problems and Kat's problems and everything else, Eli's problems. And
It's very much, but just where we're at now with young people growing up in the social media age, like we're in this time where people coming up don't socialize like they used to. Everybody is really tough behind the computer screen, but they don't hold themselves accountable. They don't take responsibility for what they do because, hey, I'm doing it over the phone. No one can stop me. I can say whatever I want. My opinion is, just as
Avatar.
valid and equal to everything. And it's like, it's not quite though,
well,
and
there's an aspect of that struck me in the movie too, and that's how none of these people knew how to do anything.
Yeah.
Like they were inept with tools. They couldn't operate their machines. They had the voice-controlled car. They didn't know how to operate the gun or anything. It was, really, really pathetic. They're walking in the woods in these ridiculous clothes. They didn't know how to hunt. They're walking through the woods casually chatting.
Yeah.
That's not how you
Yeah.
hunt.
Right.
It was, and that's what you're saying about like this generation where there's no reality and they're in this fantastic house, but there's no appreciation of it.
yeah.
Like you think they would have walked around a little bit and looked at the architecture and all this kind of stuff, but it was, just another luxury hotel.
Yeah. I was going to say, I appreciate the nuance of, Jack Quaid's character. And what I love, if you've seen the show The Boys, like I have, I feel like you go into the movie already kind of endeared by him because you're like, that guy,
Right. Yeah.
And then so to see him kind of, and to your point, like, it's not like he's just evil for evil's sake. It's the way we just treat technology, right? Like she's an object. He doesn't,
Right.
and I like how he says, when they're having the car, and he's like, I don't even own you. He's like, I just rented you. He's,
you're not-
he's like, you see the tears? He's like, that's just a water reservoir.
It's like
he's
a windshield washer fluid.
He's like, it's like what?
When
It's like
you're-
wiper fluid.
When we service you, they'll put more fluid in.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah,
but
and he was so pragmatic about that.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
he
just this is what this is like the world they live in. This is what it is.
it's interesting that you get to design your robot. There's models, right? And so he picked the young, innocent girl and dressed her the way he did and everything. That's like a weird fantasy. You think you'd want a woman. She was like a cheerleader,
I love that idea too, with everything being controlled through the phone, and changing the eye color and the hair color and the pitch of the voice and
I loved it
intelligence level and
when
all
they
that.
did the eye color thing and he slid it back and forth.
Yeah.
And it just saw her eyes go from blue to red to
Yeah.
green, to yellow to like, he's like,
Yeah, and it makes so I completely buy that in this world that's so realistic.
And they had so few things. Like you could change the eye color, the IQ, right? It was like he had her intelligence set at 40.
Yeah.
As soon as she got the phone, right to 100.
Yeah.
Then and the look on her face,
Right.
Like all of a sudden she's smartened up.
One bummer, and I do like the movie. I think it is well crafted. I think it's well executed. The blend of the kind of humor and the darker elements of it, I think it all works well.
Very well.
I will say that moment though, when she turns the intelligence up, I was expecting that to pay off in some kind of way, but it doesn't really change anything. Like she seems like she's the same. Nothing really different. There's that moment, like you said, where it's a close up. And you see her eyes widen, like, oh, now all of a sudden she just has all this knowledge, but it doesn't pay off. Even that moment when she's standing at the cliff edge and she's talking to herself about, like, okay, what happens if I just walk back? It's this far away. What if I go to the car? She's going over her options.
Yeah, analyzing every future scenario.
Yeah, but that does, like, I still imagine that 40% intelligence her would have had the same thought. It didn't seem that much more extravagant.
Right. It wasn't more smart.
Like, oh, this is the Ivy League, graduate person or whatever they say.
Well, that's why the movie before this, where the girl was in a locked in a building, and she was the robot companion, and she got real smart and killed all the guys. I'm surprised you didn't just spit out the name.
Is that Ex Machina?
That doesn't ring a bell.
Okay.
But there is one. There are several movies like this, but not like this.
Right.
Not like this. In that one, the woman was smarter. Like she knew everything was precision. When she fired the gun, it was like exactly on target, and like she was robotic. Like she knew how to break things and do things and move, and she trapped a guy in a room where he was trapped and stuck and everything, and it was very clever. There was nothing that wasn't. She didn't become really clever.
Yeah.
It was interesting to watch her modify her voice in the voice-controlled car until she sounded like him, and then it accepted his voice control.
Yeah.
But he got beat up. He got his hand slammed into the door. He got his foot driven over.
Yeah.
He really, and it might be interesting for everybody to know is this guy, Jack Quaid, his father's Dennis Quaid, and his mother's Meg Ryan. And you could really see Meg Ryan's face in him, couldn't you?
I didn't know. I knew he was Dennis Quaid's son, but I didn't know it was Meg Ryan's son too. Now I completely see it.
Yeah, he's her.
Yeah.
Like
wow.
Especially in her later years.
Yeah.
Like not the original, not the Top Gun Meg Ryan.
I do appreciate the consistency of the characters too. Like you mentioned earlier, what they don't know how to hunt, they don't know how to do these things, and he still gets his hand smashed. He's making mistakes. I like that they don't suddenly become
they're totally
like
nerds.
Superheroes. They're not
nerds.
suddenly Terminators.
Yeah.
Same with her. She's not suddenly some kind of killer, robot
right. Yeah,
thing.
she doesn't become real athletic.
Yeah.
Like when she's running away or something, it's not like, well, now she turns on the robot legs. And,
right. Yeah.
She's still running like a girl.
Yeah. I did like that moment where it seems like she's making her escape, and then the cop car comes because the car shuts off, and she changes her voice.
The gay robot was much better at being robotic.
Yeah. Yeah. And which, speaking of, one thing I mentioned earlier was when you go in knowing that she's a robot, it makes so much more of it predictable. Even that guy, the Patrick character, right? The cook gay robot.
Yeah.
As soon as they walked in and he's cooking and they're telling their little love story, I'm like, this guy's a robot. Like, I already know he's one of the robots too, and sure enough, there he is.
And he himself figured it out.
Yeah,
he told Eli, "Look, Eli, I know I'm a robot." And that's why I was like, "Give the gun to the robot guy because you're going to fall down. You're going to,
But yeah, so that was a little bit of a but, and I knew like clearly they're definitely going to reprogram him to hunt her, and that happened. So but really, really good performance with that
just
guy
the way
as well.
Josh crumbled. Kat, who in the beginning was the totally hot, intelligent, ruthless woman, she was like in control of everything going on, control of herself. She had that real self-assurance and stuff. As things started to go south, she kind of turned into like, I'm just a little girl. I want to get out of here. Like she became less and less strong.
I mean,
And she had the flight thing, grab the money and run. I got to get out of here. There's dead bodies all over.
Well, and I agree with her though. I feel like she's the smartest one in that situation of like, hey, you know what, Josh, this is your mess. Like you're gonna deal with this. I'm taking. I probably would have took the money and cut too. Now we got two crazy robots. Our other friend just got shot.
If they were in that situation, you would have to kill Josh because he knew that you were an accomplice. So the
There
fact
is that too.
the fact that she at some point should have killed everybody. Should have disabled the robots because she knew how to, and killed the nerds. It would have been easy to knock them off. And then she would have been able to exhale, pack up all the money, and in her own car, quietly leave there. Of course, her DNA would be everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so she would have to literally change her identity. She would have to disappear. But with $12 million, there's a lot of borders you can cross. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a
I mean,
lot
it's
of
bulky,
steps.
12 million in hundreds and $100 bills, right? It was-
Yeah. A lot of steps she would have to take. And, you know, that gets us to
But being that they were 17 miles from civilization, I love that line where she said, "Do you own the lake?" And he said, "No, I don't own the lake. I just own all the land around it." That was really mafia. That was really Russian
Right.
mob talk, right? But because it was so remote, that wouldn't be discovered for a long time. Even the dead cop and cop car,
Right.
it would take them a minute to find that.
One moment where it did become less predictable for me is when she does get caught and brought back to the house, and he's got her back under control
Right, tied
at the
up.
dinner table and
Yeah.
explaining the evil plan and all that. The gunshot to the head, I just love the way that played out with the technicians coming in and he's telling them the story, which is clearly BS. And I love that the techs are just like, yeah, man, if the cops are good, we're good. We're not here to investigate. We're just picking up the material.
But they knew.
Yeah.
But they
And
knew.
He's like, oh, this dude definitely jailbroke it. We're going to find out.
Right.
But I love the idea of like, oh yeah, he's like, the head is just the Wi-Fi and antenna. He's like, all the solid state drive and the important stuff is in the body. So, you know,
Right.
we're going to find the footage and it's all going to be good.
And then the thing that we didn't, at least I didn't know, maybe you were clever enough to think of it. I didn't realize that the minute they put her in the back, they plugged her in for the download.
Yeah.
So in other words, he considers her dead, but now she's being reset.
Yeah. They make that really dark comment too when the techs are going out and the younger tech, I think his name was Teddy, is like, oh, why would they, why do people do that? And he says the older, more experienced guy is like, I don't know, man, the reason these people do anything, he's like, there's people that buy these dolls or these robots
they
to just
torture
beat
them.
on them, chain them up in their basement, torture them. He's like, people are sick, man. And yeah, that's that just is very unnerving. That kind of stuff really terrifies me. Just that's probably the scariest part is just that little discussion is like, oh God, that's so
and that
real.
somebody's passive about it. Somebody's
That's what it is. And they're programmed to
You think you
feel
lose your
pain
deposit, right? You lose your deposit if you beat up the robot.
Right.
Like
Yeah, something.
people can afford to do that.
Yeah.
People buy
Awful.
cars and smash them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was those guys were interesting characters in the story. It was great that they didn't let on that they knew that the guy was full of it.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's okay. We got you. We're gonna take it. And then the funny thing was, he looked at the gay robot. And he went like, I kind of recognize you. Then he was like, oh, that's just one of our older models. I can't
Right.
believe I didn't realize it right
Yeah.
away. That would never happen. I would never mistake a car.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would never think a
Yeah.
Firebird was a Volkswagen.
Right.
I loved it in the beginning how beautiful they made her look. She was really, really appealing. She had a very unique kind of beauty in the first shots when they showed her face. And I was very impressive with her acting of her face. When she first saw Josh and her mouth changed shape in such subtle ways that it was like she recognized him and fell in love with him, and like everything that was going on with her face was amazing acting. It was like, look at that transformation. She went from he's a stranger to he's the ultimate, I'm going to spend the rest of my life like. I thought that was really cool. That was the first thing in the movie that I went like, whoa.
Yeah, it's very nuanced and it does draw you in. I mean, she's great, and I have a feeling her career is going to blow up after this. I didn't see the movie Heretic. I heard it's really great. That came out a month or two ago, and she's in that.
Right.
I heard she turned in a really great performance in that as well.
I'll have to go back and find that for sure.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. I kind of wish I saw it, but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see.
I wonder who her parents
career
are.
moves from here.
You
Yeah,
know?
right. Yeah, but she does have the perfect look too, like very beautiful and just so like soft. Like I buy her as being a machine,
Totally girl next door.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
And not overdone to where she's like a perfectly chiseled supermodel with like,
no.
like it's
Yeah, she's got tiny, like not certainly not flaws.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it would be if you were going to really sculpt something, when she just was that real good girl next door cheerleader, that kind of thing. Really good movie, really fun movie. Certainly not some classic masterpiece. And I always feel bad saying that because really it was perfect. I mean, there was nothing in there that was like, what's with this scene or this isn't right or anything. The movie making of it was really good. The story was pretty good. This is now a genre. And the thing that made me laugh was this is the third movie I've seen now with a female robot companion that was like a little bit superhuman or did something like that. And this was the most human of the female robot movies that I've seen. But it occurs to me that we have not yet seen a man robot. You know what I mean? Like the love companion, it's always a girl. The scientists always make a girl. You know what I mean? Like that we haven't seen the one yet where like it's a guy. I don't even know how, I haven't thought about writing that one. But that needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we did kind of get it here with the gay couple, though. They did. No. They did give us a dude.
He was a male robot, but he wasn't like the lead character who does the dirty,
about that character.
Yeah. The one before this, where it takes place in a house where like a Tony Stark kind of millionaire, billionaire, Elon Musk kind of guy.
Okay.
He's created this thing, and of course the correspondent that comes to see it and interview him and stuff, he does the wrong things and the robot sort of escapes and kills everybody. And then she becomes her own woman and she goes out in society and, she's beautiful and dressed to kill and she knows everything. She knows she's a robot and like the whole world's not safe, right? And it was cool at the end where she did that, her burned hand where she peeled the skin back and had the mechanical Terminator style hand.
Yeah.
And then she's riding, I don't know who taught her to drive, but she's driving the Mustang and she's on the highway and she waves to that other girl with the mechanical hand. That was a cool ending.
Yeah. And that was her. It was like the same model. Did you notice that?
No.
It was her, but with blonde hair.
Oh,
it was
so
another.
Glad you told me that.
It was another robot.
Right. Like, look at me.
Yeah. No, that was good. And I like, clearly it has a lot to say about relationships and controlling relationships and being an individual, and almost has a little bit of a hint of the Blade Runner kind of idea of, hey, like at what point, we say it's a machine, it's a replicant, whatever, but it has memories, it has feelings. So at what point do we determine it's not human, it is human, that kind of philosophical question?
Well, that's the AI question.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you definitely get that aspect to it. And yeah, I mean, within the midst of, like you mentioned, these AI movies that are becoming more and more popular over the last several years, I think this is a really good take on it. And it didn't come across too like the commentary in it is there for sure, but it's not too overt. It didn't feel like it was beating me over the head with some kind of
it was
moral,
not preaching. It was not preaching. There's no agenda.
Lesson,
This was just a story, really well written story by the author, who was also the director. Once again, author director. We're seeing that, and I know you like that a little more than I do. And the other thing about the writing on this thing is, I watched The Sopranos, and that was revolutionary in its time, very revolutionary in its time, and then other shows came. And of course, to me, the next really big one was Breaking Bad, where every week there was an amazing, like unexpected new character who changed the whole complexion of what was going on and escalated it. And this movie was the same way. It's like something happened and then it was escalated and there was misfortune and then it was dealt with and then it was escalated. And it almost seemed like this thing was written by AI. Like there seems to be a formula now, like Ozark. We talked about that. We both really liked it. And it was, I think the Ozark, the acting was the thing, more than everything. But it seems like now this whole, you got a problem, or you got a good situation that goes bad, and then there's a betrayal, and then you find out a different agenda, and then a new person comes into the story who adds to the problem. And, like it's so, there's like a formula now. Like there's always a betrayal, and I realize that stuff is all through history, but not like this. This was kind of like a Breaking Bad. Like once Breaking Bad came, and I like learned that, it was like, well, I could write a show like this where, where there's a betrayal and then there's an unknown element and there's a relationship that you never realized and there's all these things. It seems like a lot of stories now are this. And you know how when you hear, like, when you watch a YouTube episode and it's being spoken by AI, and it's written and spoken by AI, and you can just taste it and smell it, and you recognize it right away. I felt that way with this. Like, this was not an organically conceived story. This is a story that was made. A guy said, I'm going to write a story about this, and this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. It wasn't felt, it was thought about. You know what I mean? That you kind of get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I think I could write a movie like this if I took some time and was clever and considered the possibilities. And even when she was considering the possibilities for herself, well, if I run away, this will happen. If I take the car, this will happen. If I go on foot, this will happen. Like, she analyzed it. Like, you could write a story without having any feelings or thoughts, just by analyzing what should happen next and what could happen next, point A to point B, and that's the story. And then you present it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like how I felt about this. It wasn't quick and dirty. It was the opposite. Mm-hmm. It was well conceived and executed. I didn't feel that way. Like I always talk about movies like Rocky, right? That was something where I imagine Stallone imagined the movie. This guy's going to fall in love with the girl. He's going to have the trainer who's this guy. He's going to fight against Apollo Creed. He's going to go the distance. He's going to, like, you could see somebody feeling that. That's like, could be a fantasy that you have, that you would fight the champ and win the girl. And, this thing, I don't think the author, this was his fantasy. Like, I don't feel like it was a story that he kind of, I think it was made more than felt. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. I don't completely agree, but I'm getting the nuance and the difference you're trying to explain between, like, felt and made.
What happens to me is this. I've written some novels, and it all starts out where I wake up in the morning and I feel like I've seen the movie. And now when I write it, it's like I'm writing what I thought of that morning. Like, I'm like, yeah, then this happened, then this happened. Sometimes it's like a couple hours, I actually write the whole thing in 300, 400, 500 words, and then I fill it in.
Yeah.
So I sort of had the idea, like, it came like not into my analytic brain, but into my creative brain. And so to me, this and those kind of TV shows, they're from the analytic, they're a product made. They're not something that was inspired.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I guess unless we bring Drew Hancock into the studio here and do an interview with him on his writing process, we won't really know. I mean, I feel like it probably came from, but in this day and age, who knows? Most of what we see could be AI, and we wouldn't even necessarily, But, and you did mention this, like, throughout history, there's always been a formula to screenwriting, to writing. Like, there's compelling story points, and there's
I've taken writing classes.
Like, that's always been there. I mean,
but
what I will say has changed, though, over the last, like, I say several years, but probably decades now, is I think in earlier cinema there was more risk taking, whereas now, because of money and it's all about big blockbusters more than just anything else, like, it is a little more paint by numbers. There was more risks back in the day.
You're giving the audience what they want. I mean, something like this is made to be liked. This is a hit movie. It's definitely a hit movie.
Yeah, because they need to make money, and that's ultimately what the film entertainment is all about, is making money. So it's gonna whether maybe it was completely felt by him and it's something he had in his mind for years and it had to get out, or it is, I just want to make a cool AI kind of dark comedy
formulaic
movie and let me go beat for beat what it's going to be. And maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it.
Just my comments about it.
No, and I mean, I think that's, that could be a whole topic.
Every once in a while you see a movie where it's like, it's all heart.
Right. Yeah.
This was like Mersh.
And to your point, you brought up Rocky, like Sylvester Stallone very much was kind of in his way living that story, even to the point of getting it made, where it's like, hey, we'll buy the script and we're going to make it for millions and millions of dollars, but you can't be involved. And for him to
He said no.
to go the distance,
He said,
right?
no, I have to be Rocky.
take,
I'm doing the sit-ups, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
to
doing
take the risk. Like, okay, you cut the budget by 2/3, but I'm going to be in it and we're going to live with that. And then because it had the heart and it had John Avildsen directed, I think it had that team, and of course the heart of Stallone. You know, it got to where it got.
Yeah, nobody else could have made that but him.
Yeah, it had to be that way, and he knew it, and so I get that for sure.
Anyway, well, we always rate these movies, and I'm giving this one a 7, even though I have a numerology problem with 7s. And I felt that it was really, really good and really fun to watch. I wouldn't say you have to see it. But if you do see it, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah. I'm going to say 6.5. Yeah, I mean, I recommend it. Go watch it. I don't know if it'll stand the test of time or not, but I think it is a fun movie worth seeing. Go take your lady on a date or take your dude on a date to go see it. Right, now's the time. We're getting into February here. So that's a wrap on this one, everybody. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think of this movie. And if you have any other recommendations for us, or even better yet, what are some other kind of AI film movie examples you can think of?
Yeah, what's that one? In the comments, they'll tell me. They'll tell me right.
Ex Machina, Subservience, Blade Runner.
Give
us Ex Machina. Is that the one?
No, that's not the one.
Yeah, well, let us know. If you know what he's talking about, leave a comment. Let us know so, we can check it out.
Yep. Thanks again.
All right, cool.
What was that movie?